There's two things that sales teams need. They need leads, and they need to be able to close deals. And if you can get both of those things down, you basically make unlimited money.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Alex Berman. He's the founder of LeadShark, which is a platform that sells verified leads for as low as $9 a month. Alex, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Alex, when we first got in touch, the reason that we invited you to the show was actually, I don't know if it was before LeadShark existed, but definitely before I had ever heard of it. And that's because you're a bit of a cold outreach king. And so I'd love to talk about how that got started. Did you have an agency? Like, what got you into the art of cold outreach?
Sure, it all kind of fits together. What originally got me into it was I was growing up in Florida, and I wanted to be, one of these guys that was either in Silicon Valley or New York, and I just didn't know anybody in either of those cities. So I started Googling around, to figure out, like, how do you even get a job? I applied at a couple places and nothing really went through. So I, at one point, just got on a plane to New York and just hit the ground running and decided to just start emailing people. 2 weeks later, right? Emailing every day. 2 weeks later, I ended up with a job at a funded startup. So from that moment, I realized the power of cold email. And then from that startup, I went on to become junior sales guy at an agency, implemented cold email over there, became director of marketing after about 1.5 years. We hit the Inc. 5000 a couple times, and then started my own company, X27, with my co-founder, Robert Indresh. And now that's an agency. And then now we're running A&R Ventures, where we're doing a bunch of SaaS projects. Like LeadShark is our newest one, the lead gen database.
So you still are running an agency. That's awesome. What do you have as far as, like, I'm sure you've got a million secrets and whatnot, but if we're talking about like top 3 things that come to mind when it comes to doing cold outreach effectively, what have you got?
Sure. So the top secrets are, I think we can bust some myths first. First thing is, cold outreach definitely works. A lot of people think that cold emails don't work anymore because most of the emails that they get are terrible quality cold emails and they're spam. But what's so interesting about the strategy that we teach is it's not spam. So it cuts through all of that noise and people actually respond to it. Cold email is something that every major business, every major B2B company still uses to drive clients. But the way that we set up our email campaigns so that they actually work is we use a concept called the 3 C's. So the 3 C's of cold emails are compliment, case study, and call to action. Compliment means, you start with a compliment. So, like, hey, huge fan of the Go High Level podcast. Really love the interview you did with Dennis Yu. Then case study. So I run marketing for CRM systems. In fact, we just worked with XYZ company and increased their revenue by 30% in the last 2 weeks. Would love to do similar for you. And then the call to action. Mind if I send over a few times for a quick call? And that's it. 3-sentence, 4-sentence cold email. Basically all you need. Subject line, quick question, send us some high quality leads. And there's nothing really more to it. I've tried to boil it down to as simple as it can be.
I mean, listening to that, it's like, oh, it's that easy, huh? But the answer is yeah, right? Because if you look at the large majority of cold email, it's not customized. Like, you have to, like, you mentioned our show and a guest who was on our show. That means you actually at least did a very quick Google, right? And grabbed a name. But I feel like that simple step is what everybody misses, right? They want to do it at scale, so they just crank the same message out to 1,000 people at a time. And I mean, is that the line between spam and cold outreach in your mind?
So the line between spam and cold outreach, legally spam is sent to B2C customers. So if you're sending cold email to, like, consumers, then technically in the United States, that's spam. That falls under CAN spam. It's a violation of the law. But no, spam, when it comes to B2B, it's sending emails to unqualified contacts, and it's sending emails that are irrelevant. A lot of the spam problems that people run into are from manual spam reports. So you send somebody an email, it might end up in their primary inbox, but if enough people mark it as spam because it's irrelevant, It doesn't matter how warmed up your email is. It doesn't matter what your reputation is, reputation, you're still going to end up getting marked as spam, and you can kill your entire domain doing that. So yes, I do think it's personalization, and it doesn't have to be difficult. So for instance, if you're niche down with your pitch, you actually don't even have to spend that much time researching. So for instance, if when we at X27, one of the things we do is we generate leads using cold email and other tactics for other digital agencies around the world. And when we're reaching out on behalf, of our company, we'll call out agency case studies. So for instance, I can email an agency and be like, hey, Brandon, huge fan of Fueled, love the work you did with Sony. And now I could write that same line to all of them, and my VA or whoever's doing the lead list just has to find a company name and the name of one case study. And now, yeah, you can send that to 1,000 people or 2,000 or 20,000 people. And every single one of those now see that email as custom and written directly for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like with high level, if you're using custom values, of course, you could just have your VA plugging them into the contacts, and then you can run 1,000 people through the same campaign, and it will dynamically insert those things. But, I just want to stress the point because, I personally at a high level get cold outreach, I don't know, at least a handful of times a day. And I would say less than 1% of them are actually customized to me. Like, less than 1% actually have taken the time to learn or say anything about us or me individually. And it's kind of shocking, So I feel like, I'd love to hear yours because we do cold outreach, right? And like I cold outreach to you to get you as a guest on the show, right? So like we do it all the time. And I feel like people are surprised at the success rate that we have with it. But I feel like when you do personalize it, what would you say is an average success rate? Like, I'm just curious to see how it compares to ours because it's pretty good.
So for this kind of pitch, you're trying to get people on your podcast or recruit affiliates. And typically, yeah, like 20 to 30% response rates are good, maybe higher if you customize.
Yeah.
For actual sales, like let's say you're trying to sell Go High Level to people, and you're trying to book appointments, it would be like a really good one would maybe be 4 to 6%, and a highly targeted, highly customized one to a super specific niche, you can get as high as 22, 23% positive response rates. One of my friends, Andres, we're developing a course together where he's raising money from venture capitalists and coming at them with a well-written pitch. He was able to get, it was a 22% response rate. It was about a 14% meeting book rate. And he was able to raise, it was $5 million in about 3 weeks off of just a few cold emails like that. So these results aren't crazy. And the reason why they work is because nobody's doing it.
Well, and also
I can tell you all the secrets. I've been saying the secrets for a decade. You know what I'm saying? Like 8 years now.
Yeah.
You'd think
Alex,
this would die. It's not. It's not going to die.
Alex has been saying this stuff on YouTube for a long time in a bunch of different ways. But I think the point here is what's great about cold outreach is, look, it doesn't get a lot of people super excited because it does require time, but what it doesn't require is money, right? So if you're just starting out in your agency journey, it's probably worth your time to do X amount of cold outreach per day, but do it well, right? And I think we can both testify to the fact that, you're going to get responses if you have a softer pitch, like, hey, would you like to be a guest on our show, of over 20%, right? And if you're actually going straight to the sale, I mean, even if you're closing 5 to 10%, it's probably worth your time at this point in the journey. But again, it's not worth your time if you're just, not putting any thought into it. So I would definitely say keep that in mind.
I was doing some work in Hollywood for a while, for a couple of years, and we'd pitch, major agencies, CAA, people like that. And we've actually found that Gmail accounts perform better in certain niches. So when we would email from, Alex Berman, I don't want to say my actual, Gmail account, but when I would email from that Gmail account, it would have a higher rate than when we emailed from the domain. And the reason why I think it is because when they just see Alex Berman and they don't have any context, then it might be like Alex Berman, son of, Ron Berman, I don't know, whoever, like son of somebody they have to get back. So I think it works really well there. Another thing that I've seen people doing is there's this whole world of gray hat cold email. One of the guys I was just talking to is currently running this thing where he'll spin up and warm like 60, 70 Gmail accounts at once, just with generic names, and then have those ready to go. I think if you get your cold email strategy right, you don't need that kind of gray hat stuff. And for agencies specifically, I would also recommend just corporate domain. Though the one thing I would say on that is you want to protect your main domain at all costs. And I want to say you made this mistake as well, which is you're cold emailing from gohighlevel.com, which is unbelievably dangerous. If you get marked as spam, you lose that domain. Now, all of a sudden, your invoices aren't getting through to clients, your internal communications are getting marked as spam. It's bad. So what I would recommend you do, and what a lot of people, if they're cold emailing from their main domains do, is set up a forwarding. So go buy gohighlevel.co, gohighlevel. Even in.io, and have them all forward to your main domain. That way you warm up those inboxes separate and you can protect your main domain. Because once you lose that main domain, it's over. You can't really get that back.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I think I even outreach from you from my Gmail, our G Suite email, not through the platform. But what's nice about doing it through High Level, and people ask, this is like, you see this in the Facebook group all the time. It's so annoying. I heard you can't do cold outreach on High Level. And it's like, you actually, of course you can. And it's actually great because it runs through your Mailgun where you can, set up, like you're saying, don't use your agency.com, go buy the .co, the .io, or whatever. So if you do end up shooting yourself in the foot, especially if you're new to it and you're not confident you're sending out emails that are going to get a good reply, you can always just swap it out to another one and not tarnish your original, your real brand. So that's a great point. Anything else that you can think of on the technical side that people get hung up with?
On the technical side, yeah, a lot of people hate on email warm up. I have something to say about that.
This is a great question. What is your warm up procedure? What do you do to warm up a domain?
So I like the automations, but there's not a lot of automations that work well. So I know, Sujan Patel, who runs Mailshake, he's got his own automation. Lemlist has their own automation. I have tested all of them. Even the cheap ones, like the $9 a month ones, are the ones that'll warm up every account. Lemwarm works the best. I had Guillermo, the CEO of Lemwarm, on my YouTube channel, and he explained the reason why that is on Lemlist, you have all of these major players in the industry. So you've got, people using at google.com domains, at amazon.com domains. So when that warm up is going, you're not just getting emailed from like random gmail.com guy. You're getting emailed from these big corporate accounts, and it makes your account seem a lot better. And this isn't just opinion. I've done actual testing on the cheap warm up thing, and I've had to re-warm using Lemwarm in order to actually get good results from the cold email campaigns. So that's what I do. The other note on that is all of the technical stuff is actually necessary. So making sure that your DMARC is set up, your SPIF set up, like all of that, which didn't used to matters so much now. So warming up and setting up all the technicals, it's all important, and it's not something that I would skip. I know you want to start a cold email campaign and start sending right away, but I would run an email warm up for at least 2 weeks. And Lemwarm's expensive, and the reason why it is because it's the best. And this is coming from someone that's tried dozens and dozens of warm up tools. And I want to recommend something cheaper. But I haven't seen one that actually works as well as Lemwarm does.
Oh, it's interesting. We'll have to reach out to see if we can get them on the show. Is it even worth trying to do it yourself? Like when people ask me, I'm like, look, I'm no cold outreach expert, but like send emails to all your friends and family and tell them to reply, like sign up for a bunch of newsletters, and you know what I mean? Like, does that get it warm, or is it like, no, it's not even worth your time, just pay to have it done by something like Lemwarm?
Right now, we pay to have it done. When we originally started warming up inboxes, all these warm up softwares didn't exist. I don't know if we're one of the people that popularized it or what, but I did a YouTube video where I talked basically exactly about what you said. This was our original warm up strategy, was like signing up to BuzzFeed because I email you all the time, signing up to a bunch of these different newsletters, emailing your friends, emailing your other inboxes, emailing other people in your company from Gmails, and yeah, you can warm it up that way. That's the same thing that a software is going to be doing. All they're doing is an AI is writing some filler text, sending it to somebody else, and then on the receiving end, that person's getting unmarked as spam. They're moved to the primary inbox, and more AI text is being generated. So yeah, you can definitely do it manually yourself. At this point, and I used to recommend doing it, but there's so many software solutions that do it now. Like, hey, who cares? Email's cheap enough.
Automated, or do they have a community of people that are like willing to literally mark your email not as spam and hit reply?
It's all fully automated. When so we had a course, or we still have a course called Email 10K, and part of the course originally, one of the parts of the onboarding, like the beginning of the course, was to go into the private community, you post your emails in a sheet, and then we'd all warm each other's emails up. But now I just recommend tools. It's just easier.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh. Crazy world out there. You guys think of everything, but it's important, right? I mean, you need a warm domain before you start doing this, or you're immediately going to have terrible results and decide that it doesn't work, when in fact it could be the key to your success, honestly, if you're just getting started. I feel like we all start with cold outreach in the beginning, as painful and slow of a process as it can be at times.
Depending on the price of your service, it's worth your time or worth the team's time, even at much higher levels. Like, you know, the web design agencies that we work with, their typical projects cost 50 to 150,000 to start. So you get like 2 of those off of 100 cold emails. Like, I mean, that's not a bad return on your time. You're not getting those kind of returns on Facebook ads
For sure.
or even TikTok ads.
Totally. With high ticket, you can put a lot more time into it, right? And write an even more impressive outreach, personalized, by doing even more research on your whoever you're going after.
You can,
Alex,
but I actually don't recommend it. There's a hard
okay,
limit. I wouldn't spend more than like 4 minutes on a cold email.
There you go.
Because the problem is if you get too research, then it ends up getting creepy, especially when you do what most people do. Like they do too much research on the first C, on the compliment. They're like, oh yeah, I noticed you went to this college and like you posted this picture of your dog on Instagram. It's super cute. Like, I love what you're doing. So they spend most of their time there, and that's the obvious move. But what they should do is spend most of the time on the second C, which is the case study. So customizing that second line of the email. A lot of times if I'm doing the super customized one, I'll do what's called a 2 ideas email, which is like, hey, I was just talking to the CEO of a 8-figure marketing agency in New York City, and he said they were dealing with these 2 problems. And then I would say, like, you know, problem 1 was this, and here's how we solved it. Problem 2 was this, and here's how we solved it. Are you dealing with similar? Would love to hop on the phone. So
Yeah,
that's where I would spend the time. I wouldn't spend it on the compliment, even though it seems like that's where you would spend the time.
For sure. I think something that we struggle a lot with is I'm always trying to keep it as short as possible, right? And when you go into those case studies, it can be tempting because you want to really, you know, show off and make the point, and before you know it, you've got like 4 or 5 lines of text, and it's always like, no, we got to get this shorter. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is that a valid concern that we need to keep that case study section to 1 or 2 sentences at most?
Yeah, the practice is you want the email to be readable on an iPhone screen, but if you can get it even shorter, then that's cool too. Like one of the newest things in the cold email space that a lot of people are testing out is custom compliment and then just a quick ask. So like, you know, hey, you know, huge fan of whatever, love the work you did on XYZ. Are you looking for inbound closers? You know, just some kind of ask like that to engage the conversation. That's not something I like the older school one, but yeah, you want to keep it as short as possible. The case study is just you know, recently we worked with this company and we helped them do XYZ in X amount of time. And usually it's something based on revenue generated, because I follow this concept called, you know, like the sugar, salt, and fat concept. Like, why do people eat at McDonald's? It's because they give you everything you need in one meal. It's not because it's a gourmet meal. It's because they got a bunch of sugar, a bunch of salt, and a bunch of fat in that meal. Now, promising you're going to make people money is the McDonald's hamburger of marketing. So anytime we're not talking about, you know, increasing brand retention, we're not talking about increasing like the number of engagements on a post. We want to make that case study as revenue specific as possible.
Sure. That makes total sense. I mean, cut right to the chase. But the flip side of that, have you seen any creative, like out of the box type of stuff where you were like, whoa, that's way out there, but it's working?
So there's another cold email guy called John Buchan, who's famous for his drunk cold email, which is a lot more, it's a lot more joke. You might want to have him on this podcast too, he's cool. But it's a lot more jokes laid in, and it's a longer cold email. And that strategy also works. What I found is for teaching, that strategy is very tough, especially with the market that I find gets the most value from this stuff, which is people in the third world, like India, Nigeria, those kind of guys. It's very hard to teach them sense of humor, but you can teach them how to write a case study and a compliment. And
yeah,
that's where I've been really focusing when it comes to teaching cold email, because like somebody in India, you know, even if they're working for a major company, they might be making $500 a month. You know, that's a good salary. Like Div, who was on our team, he said he couldn't get married until he was making at least $1,200 a month. Like that was like the marriage salary in India. And that's a great salary. So when you teach these guys cold email and now all of a sudden they're selling $10,000 deals or $30,000 deals, that's
Yeah.
where I get most of the impact from. So yeah, it's cool, you know, funny, jokey emails, but like try teaching that to somebody that is English as a second language.
For sure. Yeah, that doesn't scale very well if you're not a talented
Yeah.
writer. So Alex, how did all of this lead to LeadShark?
All of this led to LeadShark because me and my co-founder had a serious conversation about 2 years ago, maybe about a year and a half now, ago. And we decided that, you know, agencies are cool, but we really need to start getting equity and we really need to start moving into the software space. So we cold emailed a bunch of people, product account founders and like all these guys. And yeah, we got responses and they got on the calls with us. But we realized people weren't taking us seriously. They weren't giving us equity in their companies because we didn't have SaaS case studies, didn't have SaaS backstories. So we realized we needed to get into SaaS and we focused on something we do well, which is leads. We spend, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on leads. So we're like, if we spend 70K on a piece of software, all of a sudden now we've got something that we're saving, you know, at least 100K a year on, and we can build something cool for everyone else. Verified leads are always in demand. There's two things that sales teams need. They need leads and they need to be able to close deals. And if you can get both of those things down, you basically make unlimited money. So I can't teach you, I can teach you how to close deals. I can't sell you how to close deals. So I decided to sell leads. I think leads is a good market to be in. And cheap leads too, like $9 a month to get access.
Yeah, that's super affordable. But what struck me most, besides the affordability, was the model. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen this model in these types of services before where it's actually being like the leads are not just being scraped from directories like LinkedIn and stuff, but they're actually being fed in from the community. How does that work?
Yeah, so how it works is people log in with their LinkedIn account, and in order to basically run our database, we plug into their LinkedIn. They give us permission to do that. And what that allows us to do, or what that allows us to grant, is let's say you have 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. Since we're able to use your connections for our database, we can credit you one free lead for every connection you have on LinkedIn, as long as they're used. So let's say you have 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. Now you just have to pay that $9 a month and you can get 8,000 free leads. So that allows us to build our database quicker. That allows us to provide more to the audience as well, because there's, you know, leads, even like eight years ago, leads were locked away in companies like ZoomInfo, where ZoomInfo would make you pay, you know, $2,000 a month and an annual contract. A lot of times you had to pay that up front before you could even see the lead database. You know, Hoover's also same sort of model. Then other companies came along, you know, companies like UpLead, where they're doing like, you know, $80, you got to get in here. But I think you could do higher quality and cheaper. Is always a good model. You know, if you could do higher quality and cheaper, it's just better for the community, better for the audience.
Totally. I mean, that's kind of what we preach at High Level is like, you know, yes, white label the software and provide better automated features, but your services on top elevate the quality, right? So you can go compete with, you know, the Bird Eyes, the Podiums, et cetera, because they're not going to do the things that an agency can do for the end customer. But that's a very clever model. So basically you're saving or earning credits by funding or by feeding the database. So that's very interesting, and kudos to you. I mean, that seems pretty clever.
Thanks. That was Robert. That was my co-founder who came up with the model on top of it. He loved the community aspect of the whole thing. So it's good. We're a good team.
It sounds like it. I mean, it's pretty impressive. So you guys, I think I saw somewhere that you have, 25 free leads to sign up.
Yep, 25 free leads to sign up.
And the URL is leadshark.com. Pretty good URL as well. Did you have to buy that off somebody or did you get lucky?
5K, bro. I spent $5,000 on this domain. That was my idea. As you can see how we do business a little different, me and Robert.
No, it's probably a
But,
good move. It's a very solid domain. I like it.
It will, because what we learned with X27 is that's our agency. When we went in to pitch enterprise clients, originally the name was Experiment 27 spelled out. And what a lot of these enterprise clients would do is they wouldn't hire us because they couldn't say in a meeting, hi, I just hired Experiment 27. I'm really excited to work with them. Because these big companies don't want experiments. They want marketing that just works. We know as marketers that marketing doesn't work and it's all about experimentation, but that's inside baseball to them. They want us to seem like the experts. So that's what we realized. Like a lot of people will go in and say, oh, the name doesn't matter, et cetera, et cetera. But when you've been turned down on the enterprise client front, you've lost millions of dollars because of your name. You start seeing these things and you'll kick 5K to a domain. I'll spend 1,200 on a domain if it means I could close a major brand that I wouldn't be able to get.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good investment. LeadChart covers pretty much all the industries.
All the industries, yeah, all the industries that are on LinkedIn right now. So accounting, services, software, everything. And then we're adding more lead criteria all the time. Eventually, we're going to have tool search. Eventually, we're going to have keyword-based search, and it's just going to be all in. It's going to be the place to go if you want leads.
Very cool. Leadchart.com, guys, you can get 25 free leads to check it out yourself. Alex, thank you so much for coming on to chat with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate the trade secrets, and we will see you guys in the next one.